So, imagine this. You invent a time machine that can travel through time, not just 5 minutes into the future so you can skip awkward small talk, but hundreds of thousands of years. That's exactly what the protagonist in the time machine does. Only he doesn't use it to invest in Bitcoin or stop wars. No, he fast forwards humanity to the point where we've essentially split into two species, one delicate and dim, the other cannibalistic and pasty. H.G. Wells really said, so let's skip the utopia and head straight to the nightmare. First published in 1895, The Time Machine isn't just one of the earliest science fiction novels, it's the literary equivalent of a philosophical grenade lobbed into the Victorian drawing room. On the surface, it's a story about the curious inventor pushed to the limits of science, but underneath, it's about decay, not just of buildings or bodies, but of ideas, civilization, hope. Now, our time traveller is a man of science, a kind of late 19th century tech bro, except instead of selling overpriced mindfulness apps, he's casually explaining time as the fourth dimension. And everyone just nods along, sipping brandy like this is a normal conversation. When he finally builds his machine and zips off to the year 802,701, he finds the Eloi, childlike, beautiful and utterly useless. Think Instagram influencers, but with worse communication skills and even a vaguer grasp on reality. The Eloi live in what looks like paradise, soft fruits, soft clothes, soft brains. But then, surprise, there's another species lurking in the background, the Morlocks. Pale, industrial, terrifying. They maintain what's left of the world's infrastructure. And here's the kicker, they eat the Eloi. The future of humanity, ladies and gentlemen, an all-you-can-eat social hierarchy with dim-witted aristocrats on the menu. Wells wasn't exactly subtle here. This is a sledgehammer of a metaphor. The Eloi are what the upper classes become after centuries of comfort and privilege, helpless, docile, emotionally hollow. The Morlocks, they're the workers, the ones society buried both literally and metaphorically. They've adapted to the dark and they've adapted to the taste of Eloi tartar. It's an evolutionary joke with bite. There's a certain bleak brilliance to it. Wales looked at Victorian London with its rigid class system, choking smog and factory exploitation, and he projected it forward, not to a gleaming sci-fi utopia, but to a world where humanity had bifurcated into predator and prey. No robots, no hovercars, no Jetson-style optimism. Just entropy, an gnawing sense that the future might not be better, might be worse. What's fascinating is how scientific this all feels, even when it veers into horror. Wells was trained in biology, and you can see Darwin's fingerprints all over the book. Natural selection doesn't guarantee improvement. Sometimes it just means adapting to horror. The Eloi are beautiful because they no longer need strength. The Morlocks are monsters because they had to survive without sunlight. Evolution doesn't care about your feelings. It only cares about if you live long enough to eat dinner, or be dinner. And then, just when you think it can't get any grimmer, the time traveller escapes, revs up the time machine and flings himself even further into the future. Past the Eloi, past the Morlocks, past the point of human anything. What does he find? A dying earth, a red sun, strange crab things crawling across a barren beach, and the sound of wind echoing through the bones of a planet that gave up. It's cosmic nihilism with a side of seafood. Eventually, he comes back. He tells his story. His friends don't believe him, obviously, and then he disappears again, possibly into another dark corner of time, possibly just out of sheer disappointment. What's remarkable is that the time machine still holds up. It's short, punchy, and weirdly modern in its pessimism. Wells wasn't trying to dazzle with gadgets, he was dissecting the human condition with a rusty scalpel. The book isn't optimistic, but it's honest. It asks hard questions. What happens if we remove all struggle? What does comfort do to a species? Why does the future taste faintly of Eloi? If you read it today, you'll find the writing surprisingly accessible, although occasionally verbose in the Victorian, let me show you how clever I am way. But what lingers isn't the prose, it's the image of humanity's distant descendants fumbling in the dark, and that final vision of a lonely beach, a blood-red sky, and the unsettling thought that time just keeps going, long after we're gone, long after there's anyone left to care. So if you're looking for hope, you won't find much of it in The Time Machine. But if you're in the mood for existential dread wrapped in a very polite English accent, it's perfect. And if you're wondering whether Wells thought any of this could really happen, well, let's just say he didn't write fiction to escape the future. He wrote it to warn us. We weren't listening. Cheers.